Hello, this is Spellswise MTG, and today I'm going to be doing a deck tech on a very interesting deck. I'm going to be doing a Dragon Tribal deck around Intet the Dreamer. Intet is a 6/6 dragon for 3 blue, red and green. She has flying, and when she deals combat damage to a player, you can pay 2 and a blue, and you can exile the top card of your library face down. And then you can play that card for as long as it stays exiled without paying its mana cost for as long as Intet's on the battlefield. So this allows us to cheat out big dragons, even though that's not our main game plan. She's just a big dragon in the command zone, and it's pretty fun. So I'm going to start off, how we're going to start off the game. So we have Ramp, we have Fertile Ground, Arcane Signet, Rampant Growth, Secure Tribe Elder, Search for Tomorrow and a Soul Ring. These all provide us early game ramp and allow us to play more ramp later on, or play a enchantment which draws us cards. They're very good. Next we have the 3-drop ramp in the form of Cultivate, Kiora, Commander Sphere and Dragon's Horde. The Dragon's Horde synergizes with dragons. Sometimes we can just not draw as many cards as we'd want to, so we can use the counters from the Dragon's Horde to draw those. And it's only 1 mana overall, really. Kiora also draws us cards, and Cultivate will allow us to find another land drop. Next we have the 4-drop ramp. There is 2 of 4-drop ramp cards in this deck. There is Skyshroud Claim and Migration Path. These find us 2 basics and allow us to get out our dragons much earlier. Next we have Card Draw. This card draw either cares about you having big creatures or dealing damage, or having a lot of creatures. So Shamanic Revelation, and that's it. That cares about how many creatures you have. Return of the Wild Speaker and Nullspine Dragon care about how big your creatures are. We're only even using the card draw side of the Return of the Wild Speaker, really, because the +3/+3 isn't particularly relevant. Next we have Elemental Bond, Colossal Majesty, Temur Ascendancy and Garruk's Uprising. These are all enchantments which are going to draw us cards. These are great because Garruk's Uprising gives us Trample, Temur Ascendancy gives us Haste, and Colossal Majesty continues to draw us cards even if we don't have another dragon to play. So Elemental Bond's probably the worst out of them, and they all cost 3 mana. During editing I realised I'd forgotten to add some more card draw. So Kiora also counts as card draw because whenever a creature enters with power 4 or greater we draw a card, and Fractal Fiction is just a card draw spell where our opponent separates the cards into 2 pile out of 5 and we take one of them. Intet also counts as card advantage, so you've got around 10 sources in this deck, which is plenty. Next we have the board wipes so we have Magma Quake, Starstorm and Earthquake. These are all instant or sorcery speed. They're all X board wipes. 2 of them don't affect our dragons. Magma Quake and Earthquake don't. Magma Quake deals damage to planeswalkers and Earthquake deals damage to players. So those are very effective in wiping away small creatures, and larger ones too, and keeping our dragons around at the same time. Next you have Steel Hellkite. This is a targeted board wipe against either tokens, or if anyone just has 3 drops you can just clear those away. Next you have Targeted Removal. So there's a lot of targeted removal in this deck. These are just exclusively targeted removal. A lot of our dragons have it tacked on though. So Decimate removes 4 permanent types. You have to have all of those targets there, but it does clear away a lot of things blocking us from attacking. Reality Shift can protect us because it's instant speed, and so does Beast Within. Beast Within can get rid of any permanent and give our opponent a 3/3 beast. Horde Smelter Dragon gets rid of artifacts and pumps itself, so those can be good. Next we have our ways to make extra damage. So we have extra combat steps in here in the form of Fury of the Horde and Relentless Assault. Fury of the Horde is oftentimes a free extra turn spell. If we've just drawn a lot of cards, we can just exile 2 dragons or something, and the next combat step, Relentless Assault, gives us more reach. A lot of things care about dragons attacking, or dragons care about themselves attacking, so we can just trigger that again. Crucible of Fire makes our dragons bigger, +3/+3, pretty simple. And Warstorm Surge is like just destroy stuff when dragon heads the battlefield, which is amazing. Don't worry, we'll save the best till last in the form of the dragons. Bear Umbra allows us to untap our lands when our dragons attack. In combination with Hellkite Charger, we can get infinite combat steps. There are other ways we can do that, but that's one of the ways we can do it. And also provides protection. We have some more protection, which is instant speed in the form of Lazotep plating. This gives us and our creatures hexproof. The 1/1 zombie doesn't really do much, but it's just tacked on there. Dragon Tempest, Rhythm of the Wild, and as I said earlier, Temur Ascendancy give our dragons haste. Dragon Tempest can ping stuff down when dragons enter. Next we have our equipment, which protects our dragons. We have Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots. These are more haste enablers, and they give our dragons protection. And Darksteel Plate is amazing protection, because it has indestructible itself and gives the creature indestructible. So one of the themes of this deck is creating token copies of our dragons. So we have Molten Echoes, which is going to copy our dragons. Not particularly great for our legendary ones, but it will trigger our Scourge of Valkuses, our Warstorm Surges again, and our card draw engines. So it's amazing. Of course I'm going to be naming dragons with this. Next up we have an Eldrazi. We have Deceiver of Form. This deck has some top deck manipulation, and combined with this, we can choose whether we activate Intet or not, or we can just put for example, I don't know, Utvara Hellkite on the top and attack with 4 dragons and make 16 6/6 dragons. I've done that before and it was hilarious. Next we have instant or sorceries that make tokens. So we have Quasi-Duplicate and Cackling Counterpart. These are reusable token creators. And the Cackling Counterpart, being at instant speed, allows us to make a blocker when we need one. And Stolen Identity allows us to keep making copies of dragons, just over and over again, because that happens on attack. We have creatures which can copy as well. We have Vesuvian Shapeshifter and Clever Impersonator. We can also copy our opponent's stuff with these, and the Vesuvian Shapeshifter can upgrade itself. So if there's a better creature on our opponent's side we want to make a copy of, we can do that. And Folding the Third Path, if our dragons have died, we can resurrect them, smack people for a bunch, and then they die at the end of turn. A Sundial of the Infinite could go in this deck. I haven't got one myself, but it's not a bad include. We have 2 bits of top deck manipulation. It's not very much, but honestly, Intet doesn't connect a lot because it doesn't have trample. People can often just have like a 1/1 flyer or something, so you don't want too much in here. You're mainly worrying about the big dragons, which get rid of the blockers, and Intet's just a way to get reach if someone's just board wiped, or you don't have another dragon to play. Brainstorm puts cards on top, and Crystal Ball scries cards. So early on in the game that could be some card selection, or it can be a free card off Intet. Creeping Renaissance. This is great late game because it's got flashback. We can return all the dragons from our graveyard to our hand, and it's got flashback costs for 7. Or you can return all your lands from your graveyard if people have been blowing up your lands. Here we have some miscellaneous cards. We have Dragonlord Servant and Once Upon a Time. Once Upon a Time allows us to filter through our deck early game to find lands if we haven't got enough, or to find dragons if we haven't got any. And Dragonlord Servant just reduces our dragons and allows us to play more than one in a turn. So here we have our dragons. This is in no particular order, but we have Savage Ventmaw, which adds 3 red and 3 green. If you can get 2 Savage Ventmaws out, for example copying them, we can get infinite combat phases with the before mentioned Hellkite Charger. That is a 6-drop dragon which has haste, and you can pay 7 and untap all attacking creatures, and after this phase is an initial combat phase. So with 2 Savage Ventmaws or Bear Umbra and 7 lands, we can just keep on attacking until our opponents are dead. Next we have Udvara Hellkite, probably the best dragon in this deck, although it does cost 8 mana, we can cheat it out. This makes dragons whenever dragons attack. Incredible card. If a deck doesn't have an Udvara Hellkite in and it's themed around dragons, you're doing it wrong. Begarden Hellkite, this is another dragon removal spell. It deals 5 damage as divided, and it's got flash, so we can flash out in front of a creature and block it and kill it, and remove something else at the same time. And it's just a 5/5 for 8 mana, so fun. Scourge of Valkus is very good as well. It's like Dragon Tempest. It deals damage where X is the number of dragons you control. Turning every single dragon you control into a Scourge of Valkus with Deceiver of Form is hilarious. Because you play 1 dragon, they're going to take so much damage, and it's got fire breathing as well. Next we have Lathliss Dragon Queen. This makes dragons when dragons enter the battlefield, and it gives fire drip breathing to all your dragons, pumping them as an anthem themselves. Next we have Demanding Dragon. This deals 5 damage to a opponent unless they sacrifice a creature. This is a great low drop creature to play before our commander comes out, and if you copy it and they don't have any creatures, then they're going to take a ton of damage. And with haste, it's an especially good card because you can deal 10 to them often. Tyrant's Familiar is our next non-legendary dragon. It has haste itself, and it's also removal, and gets bigger if you have your commander. So here we have the legendary dragons. So first up we have a Drakuseth Maw of Flames from M20. This is a bonfire on a stick, I like to call it. So you deal 4 damage to 1 target and then 3 to 2 others, and get rid of small blockers, big blockers, or just smack someone in the face for 4. Then we have Ataka World Render. This gives your dragons double strike and kind of ruins with everyone's blocks. I'm going to move on to the land base next. So first up we're going to go off with the basics. We've got 5 islands, we have 6 mountains, 10 forests. These are pretty simple, just basic lands. Next up we have Halimar Depths. This is some more top deck manipulation to work with Intet. Very good land. We can get some big dragons off that with Intet. Next we have fetch lands. We have Metamorphic Expanse and Evolving Wilds, and we also have Myriad Landscape. The Evolving Wilds and Metamorphic Expanse just find us a basic, very good fixing there, and Myriad Landscape ramps us as well and semi-fixes us. Next we finally be going up to the non-basics. So you have Command Tower, that taps for all colours of mana we need, so amazing card. We have Temple of Epiphany. This is a scry land and it's battlefield tapped. We scry one, so adds red or blue. We have Rugged Highlands, which ends battlefield taps. You gain a life and it taps for red or green. Next we have Mosswort Bridge. This allows us to cheat massive dragons into play, but just by playing 2 dragons really. And all you need is just cost 2 mana to cast a 7-drop. Casually cast that. Next we have Simic Growth Chamber. This is a bounce land, adds a green and a blue, and when it enters you bounce another land to your hand. Don't play that on turn 1. I have had people who have done that before and I laughed very loudly. Next you have Exotic Orchard, which adds 1 mana a land an opponent controls could produce. Most of the time people will be running our colours, green and blue being the most popular colours in EDH. I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't running them. Temple of Mystery adds a green or a blue, and it scries one when we enter. Sheathen Reef is a pain land. It adds a colourless, enters untapped, or you can pay 1 life and add a blue or a red. Next we have Swiftwater Cliffs. This is another life land, except it's blue or red, and battlefield taps of course. Next we have Frontier Bivouac. This taps for all of our colours and just enters battlefield tapped. Great tri-land there. Next you have Mossfire Valley. This enters battlefield untapped, and we can pay 1 and add a green and a red to our mana pool. So more great fixing there. And we have Cinder Glade. It's a mountain in a forest. Enters battlefield tapped, and unless you control 2 or more basic lands. We can find this with a Skyshroud Claim. So we can fix red if we want to with the Skyshroud Claim, because of course it only fetches forests, but that's often all we need. Izzet Boilerworks adds a blue and a red, and we bounce a land to our hand again and enter battle tapped. So that was the Intet deck. This deck's certainly very fun, not competitive at all. I'd say it's a 6 or 7 on the power level. I have won with it before, but you don't play this deck to win, you play to have fun. Anytime you don't have fun is when people remove your dragons. But if people are removing your dragons, then you're probably the biggest target at the table, and they don't have bigger fish to fry. And often there are bigger fish to fry when you're playing this deck. When unstoppable card draw engines are out, or often just bigger creatures than the dragons I have. And this deck does have a lot of explosive potential, so you can have no board state 1 turn and then plop out 2 dragons with haste and smack people for a bunch. I have done that before, and I have won out of nowhere before as well. Even after being on the back foot for most of the game, you can just spring out and clear people off very quickly. So that was a deck tech on Intet the Dreamer, Dragon from Plane of Chaos. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.